Hey guys, Jay with Oklahoma Ponds. I want to show you a project that we're working on today. We're actually going to be here for about 2 weeks getting this all finished up. All this flagstone that we're going to be pulling out of here, it goes all the way through, all the way around here. So all of this is coming out, all this flagstone patio is coming out, and then we're going to put a koi pond in. We've talked about wetland filters starting on this back end. Koi pond coming in, she wants large boulders, and then the biggest challenge is going to be incorporating this hard concrete edge, the travertine, to the soft natural part of the pond. And then she wants a deck right here, either like a teak or a trek. So it started day 2, and we've already removed about half of the dirt from our excavation site. I think we're going to get the rest of our excavation finished up today. We've got a friend that's going to be coming in. He owns a landscape company, has all the equipment and the trailers, and he's going to come in and haul off all these bags of dirt. When we're done with this 12 by 12 pond is going to have about 30,000 pounds of dirt that we had to haul off site out of this one little space. Let me show you how we did that. So there's a lot of challenges with this one here. We had to build this platform here. This is about 9 or 10 railroad ties that we put together to create a nice sturdy platform for our excavator. So our excavator comes up on here, sits on this platform. We put down some tarps there. Trey's putting down our tarps to protect the turf from any of the debris that's going to fall out. We had to overcome this wall. So this wall's 40 inches tall. Really, any excavator that's big enough to reach over that without a platform was going to be way too big to fit inside of this space. So we're able to use our excavator and build this platform, which is working out great. So here's our excavation, and we're already starting to carve it out for our shelves. This over here is going to be a straight vertical block wall. We're going to use some uniblocks in there to create about a 3-foot tall wall. And then we're going to come up with a coping edge. It's going to cope all the way across the top here. And then we've got another contractor that we're working with, and he's going to come in and build a nice low profile deck with a pergola over this. So this is going to be a nice little entertaining area. Hey guys, end of day 2 on demo and getting all the hole dug. Let me show you what we've got. So we have got 16 super sacks full of dirt. Got down our underlayment, protect the concrete from the tracks. We've been running our equipment back and forth this whole time. There's Trey getting ready to get the excavator off our platform. Our friend Darren, he's coming tomorrow to help us haul off all the dirt here. So this is a big platform that we built, and went ahead and saved ourselves a couple bags of dirt here just for some utility stuff so we can use for backfill. And here is our hole. So found this electrical line right here. We think it's abandoned. Then we got an irrigation line over here we're gonna have to reroute. But for the most part, we're almost to 3 feet deep. This is gonna be a shelf that we're gonna carve out over here. Our spillway bowl is gonna go in this corner. It's gonna have a nice, beautiful deck right here that comes right up to the pond. So there's 2 trees right here, and then this shrub, both those are coming out. We're going to retransplant those around the property. Look forward to making some big progress for tomorrow. We are just finishing up the carving of our hole. Trey's down there right now, tamping it down, getting all the sharp edges, if there are any, smushed down into the dirt. That way they don't make their way up through our underliner, potentially damage our liner. There's Trey tamping this down here. This is going to be a bottom. When the pond's full, we're going to be somewhere around the 36 to 38 inches. This yellow dot on the wall here, that's going to be covered up whenever the pond's done. That's going to be actually our water level. The orange line right above it is shot based off of this concrete pour from around the pool. That's important because what Trey's doing right now is tamping down the trench for our retaining wall that's going to go up, so we can have a straight vertical edge right here. When they come out off their back patio, they're going to come over a beautiful teak deck and then come straight up to the pond's edge, and then be able to look straight down into the bottom of the pond. The fish will be able to come up and feed from there. They can put their feet in the water and feed the fish. They'll have this nice little deep section, and then we're gonna have some strategically placed beautiful boulders along these sides, and then some nice ones that are gonna run along the side over here. This little notch right here that we're carving at now is gonna be for our intake bay. So since this is a really compact space and we really want to hide all of our components, the best way to do that is going to be by using an intake bay, because we can really blend those in with the pond. They're a little bit of advanced technique on installation, but they allow us to hide everything in the pond. We won't have anything showing, no components that anybody could see. So that's going to come through here. Over here, a lot of this dirt, as we work back building our waterfall, we're going to be hauling dirt out from here, and we're going to have a waterfall that starts on this back corner over here, and it's going to come down through some cascades and land into our pond. Over in this corner over here, we're going to have one of our spillway bowls that are going to be nestled in between some boulders and spill right in. And we're actually going to convert that into a mini wetland biofilter. So we're going to have a series of rock and gravel layers that are going to come through there. It's going to get pumped up about 800 to 1,000 gallons an hour. And then we can also plant some plants, some aquatic plants, taros, maybe even some creeping jenny that will kind of flow over the bowl down towards the water. Finish up all of this, finish our brickwork, get all of our everything running through here. The plan is we're going to drill a hole through this brick so we can run our pumps and wires and everything to the other side of this wall. We need to find our sprinkler head, whatever's feeding this. We've got to get and put an adapter onto our sprinkler over here to run off and run all of our new lines along the back side of this, and to feed whatever landscaping we're going to have on both sides of this. So before we do our waterfall, we need to run our new sprinkler line underneath here. Finishing up the pond right now. It's Friday. We've been working all week, long hours on this job. Access has been a nightmare, but we've been trucking through it. Let me show you what we've got. This is our intake bay. It's a little of a interesting setup. So in here we have 6 of our small aqua blocks. Our pump vault goes in right here. Since we're working in such tight quarters and we wanted to make the most of this pond as far as size goes and impact, what we decided to do was not go with the skimmer, because I felt like the skimmer was going to be more difficult to try to hide and blend into the pond. So what we decided to do is we went with an intake bay. And this little cove right here, after the system runs for a few days, and well, actually probably about a week or so, on our aqua blocks, we put in a geofabric along the front of this, and then we have our 2 big large boulders in front of it. And what that's going to do is when we first turn the system on, it's going to want to draw all this water from below the surface and at the surface. So we're going to want to draw it all towards our intake bay. But over a week or so, this geofabric that we have wrapped around our aqua blocks is actually going to get real silted in, and it's going to restrict that flow and force the water to come in at a skimming action across. Once the water comes into this little cove, it'll be pulled down into our pump vault. And what that's going to do is anytime leaves or debris or a bird feather, anything that lands on the pond surface, is going to get drawn in over here and swirl around into our intake bay. These require a little less maintenance than a traditional skimmer, but once the debris gets saturated enough and sinks to the bottom, it's eventually broken down and it makes its way through this, and it becomes what I call pond food, which will go down into our pump and then get circulated around here. You can see our hose where our waterfall is going to be constructed next week, and it'll go through there through our biofilter, where it'll get collected inside the biofilter and be broken down by nitrifying bacteria. That's why I call it pond food. And then we're going to have a bunch of nice cascades coming through here, more than likely a little pooling area before it falls in between these 2 large boulders. So this is our 1.5-inch line that's going to run from another pump that's going to be inside of our vault, and it runs across here, and it's going to go through our spillway bowl here, which is going to act as like a little mini biofilter, and it's going to spill in, create a nice little pooling action over here. We'll have some lights that light it up. So as you can imagine, the pond's filling up right now. We got a couple more hours until it's full, but back over here we're going to have a nice tree, a divine spruce, that's going to come over and kind of linger out over the pond. And then we're going to have a bunch of sweet flag mondo grass, and then a couple other evergreen plants that are going to grow up along this back wall right over here. Now I want to use sweet flag because sweet flag is a terrestrial plant, but you can also get aquatic versions of the exact same plant. And when we plant those along this pond edge and then up into the ground, it's going to give the illusion that over the years, just like in a natural pond, those grasses have grown from the bank and into the pond, and it's going to really soften up all these hard edges and, believe it or not, make these big, large 500-pound boulders disappear. All right, so filling up the pond now. It's Monday. Trey's over here digging down for the biofilter. Kyle's getting the plumbing ready. So you can see our little black PVC right there. That's a 2-inch line, runs underneath this concrete slab, and then runs all the way along here, comes through this and into our intake bay pump vault. This is our 1.5-inch line that another pump is going to be plumbed into, and it's going to run water over here to our spillway bowl. So that's going to be coming off of here about 800 to 1,000 gallons an hour, and we're going to be running about 5,000 gallons an hour through our intake bay all the way around here into our waterfall. So let me show you. We've got a lot of our boulders put in place, but not exactly where we want them all. So we've kind of got this one right here mocked up. This is going to be our spillway rock once we have it nice and positioned and leveled up. So back here is going to be a pooling area. It's going to pool up about 3 to 4 inches deep. We can plant some marginal plants in there. We're going to have our gravel in. So that's going to act as a small little filter. As the water runs through here, the gravel is going to collect sediment from the pond. And what we're going to do now is we're going to be working on getting this placed into position. We want it to have a nice little tilted angle to it. That way we're forced to, when we're designing this, that water is going to come this way and then run down our stream. So we'll have a couple different angles, which is great because the viewing area is going to be from a deck. There's going to be a beautiful deck that goes in right here. So we'll have water coming straight down here, taking an angle, and then running this way as it falls into our pond. So the next thing that we need to look for is, once we get this in position exactly where we want it, we're going to be looking for the perfect large boulders that we can use. I kind of refer to it as clipping, but they're really our framing boulders. And so we're going to look for boulders that have nice rounded edges to them. So once we get this in position, that's going to be our next step, is finding the 2 ideal framing boulders that will go on either side of it, about right here and here. That might sound easy, but each one of these boulders are going to be about 500 pounds. So we'll have to use our excavator to get it as close into position. We may actually be coming along the back here, take this gate down, because our excavator has tracks that can retract in to fit through tight spaces. So I think our excavator is going to fit through here if we need any help getting those big large boulders positioned just right. All right, so Kyle is putting in some of the landscaping. The way we normally landscape our pond jobs is we kind of have an idea. We discuss it with the customer about budget and their plans, but we don't really make any orders to the nursery or any real specific drawings for the ponds as far as the landscaping goes, because every single pond is a little bit different, and every single pond comes out a little bit different than I plan on them to. So, you know, we can have an idea, we can discuss with the customer all we want about where plants are going to go and what they're going to look like, but it's best to order and design the landscaping once the water feature is in the ground. And that's exactly what we've done today. So over here is going to be a little dirt pad so we can run some power and stuff here. So we're going to disguise that with some of the sweet flag to kind of help blend it in. And the sweet flag is also a terrestrial plant, prefers some moist soil, but we can also use it inside the pond too. So we can give it the aquatic versions of this. We have some of that back at our nursery. And we're going to be putting some of our aquatic sweet flag down inside the pond, and it's also going to match the terrestrial stuff. So, and then of course we are going to cover this whole bowl here with some monkey grass, shade tolerant, real durable plant, and that's going to really soften up this bowl, just give it a nice good look whenever it's coming over. Over here we have some vintage jade, we have our blue atlas weeping, and this is going to grow out over the pond. It's already getting long enough to where it's going to get its fingertips just barely into the water, so we'll keep this kind of snipped back. We don't want them to rot off in the water. Over here is going to be some of our low ground covered juniper, and that's going to lay real flat and just kind of grow over these rocks down towards the pond and soften up all these big huge boulders so they don't look so formidable, and they'll be softened up with some of those junipers. But another thing that we do that really blends the pond in that you might not see from a lot of other pond builders is we like to take some of our smaller boulders and we'll feather them out into the landscape. Now, of course, we're in real tight quarters here, but when we have our big boulders, and then we'll have one to offset, and we bury these down in the ground, so just a little bit like an iceberg is kind of poking up out of the ground, and that gives it a real nice natural look to it as well. I'm really starting to put some finishing touches on this thing. Okay, so what we're doing now is we have to install a couple bulkheads on this because everything's so tight here that we really don't want our liner to be pushed down. We want everything to be nice and high, well above the water level, just to protect ourselves from any future leaks. But the problem that presents us is getting our plumbing from our pump back around our wall. We don't really want to go up and over the liner's edge, so this way we're going to go through it. But what we're going to do is we're going to use some of our primer. We're going to clean our liner really well, have a nice flat surface underneath it, and we're going to put down a cover strip. We're going to do that on both sides. We're going to do it on the front and do one on the back. Once it's primed and glued in place and sealed up, it's going to be, it actually kind of almost welds to the liner, and then we'll make our penetrations through it, and then we'll use a bulkhead fitting. That way we can make a nice clean penetration through the liner with threaded seals. That's going to give us a nice leak-free way to pass through the liner and outside of the system. We got our holes cut out here, and pretty much what I use to do this is just a sharp box knife and piece of PVC 2-inch, and I just trace around that outside, get a nice clean cut there. You can see we've got our liner sandwiched between two of our cover strips that are glued on, seamed on the liner, and now we will put on our bulkhead fitting. Now these bulkhead fittings have two washers on them. One's a hard plastic and one's a soft rubber gasket, and the rubber side goes on the water side. So that's going to go through here, and then our plastic hard rigid washer is going to go on the underside, the dirt side of it. Then we use our nut, and I'll show you what that looks like here in just a bit. Here's one of our bulkheads already installed the correct way. We got a rubber gasket on the outside and our hard rigid plastic washer on the outside, the dirt side, and then we have our nuts that tighten this down. Now we don't use any kind of seals or any silicone or anything on these, because what that can actually do is squeeze out the rubber washer on the inside, create a leak. That's obviously not good. So these are reverse threads, these bulkheads are. So we just hand tighten them on first, and then we'll get our large channel locks on there and give it one nice good little snug quarter turn, make sure everything's tight. Now these just have to be nice and snug. They don't have to be super tight, because if you get them real tight, you have a tendency to squeeze this gasket out. Because it pushes in, it will squeeze this out, create a gap between the threaded side here, between this side, allow water to sneak out. But there we go. So one of these we're gonna thread in our adapter so we can glue on our PVC onto here. Our other one is going to just be a little exhaust for set just above water level, so when the pond fills up, it'll just come run out the back of this, and we're going to be drilling a hole through this brick wall here so that it can just exhaust right out into the yard.